It's just a shade after 9 o'clock in the morning on Monday, March 29th. Welcome to Dallas, Texas, and the 26th CALLERLAB Convention. It's my pleasure and privilege to present the Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Larry Cole.
Thank you, George. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of CALLERLAB and the Board of Governors and our members ourselves, I would like to thank all of you for sharing your time and your money to attend the 26th Annual CALLERLAB Convention and support and promote the square dance activity that we all enjoy. We're pleased to have representatives from several of square dancing's national and international organizations with us. I'll ask them to stand and be recognized as I call their names. If you would hold your applause until the end, it would be great. Representing Legacy International, Bob and Dottie Elgin, over here, and Doc and Peg Terrell. Thanks, guys. Representing the National Executive Committee, Gene and Connie Triplett, in the back. Thanks, folks. Representing ROUNDALAB, Richard and Karen Fisher, right there. John and Jean Wilkinson. Thanks for coming, folks. Representing United Square Dancers of America, Lyle and Jean Beck. Hi, guys. Haven't seen you for a little while. Representing the 49th National Square Dance Convention, Baltimore, Dick Peterson. Way in the back. And I've researched the next name with 4 people, and they have 5 different replies. Rolly Williams. All right. He didn't frown. It must not have been bad. Would you thank those folks for attending? The following associations are being represented by CALLERLAB members. Representing ECTA, the European Callers and Teachers Association, Lorenz Cooley and Manuela Bachmann from Germany. Welcome. After much prompting by folks I trust, Jeanette Stobley from Switzerland. Thank you. Square Dance Callers Club of Great Britain, Alan Evans and Robert Hurst. Thanks, guys. CONTRALAB, the ever quiet and shy Bob and Phyllis Howell. Appreciate all of you coming. We're extremely pleased to have you here and hope that you enjoy our convention. If you are attending your very first CALLERLAB convention, there are 21 of you registered. Please stand. Welcome these folks. Since there are 21 of you total, we hope that you come back at least 21 times before you ever consider skipping. If you've attended at least 5 CALLERLAB conventions, please stand. Have the 2 of you not attended at least 5 CALLERLAB conventions? Please remain standing until the number called exceeds your years of attendance. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm checking these off, so I hope I don't get out of order. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I will act as though I'm seated with the next one. 19, 20, 21, 22, thinning out, isn't it? 23, 24, 25, 26. Those remaining have attended every CALLERLAB Convention since 1974. Don't sit down. We're going to call their names and ask them to identify themselves as we do, but it occurs to me there's some really old folks standing up, you know? Why are you staring at me, John? Oh, that's what that is. Okay. Please identify yourself as we call your name. Herb Egginger. Yes, I think you can applaud each. Bob Howell. The ever-smiling and bright John Jones. John Kaltenthaler. Melton Luttrell. Martin Mallard. Jim Mayo. Jack Murtha. Bob Osgood. And always at the end, Francis Zeller. There is one more person who has attended every CALLERLAB convention. I'm not positive that person is in the room, but we will recognize them anyway. Since 1974, Julia Zeller has attended every CALLERLAB convention. You got her working, Francis? She went up to the room. Give her a nice hand anyway. She deserves it. On this 26th anniversary of CALLERLAB, we're also very pleased to have several members with us that have served as chairman of the board. I'll ask you to stand as I read your name, and we'll congratulate these folks at the end of the list, please. From 1975 to 1977, Jim Mayo and Joanne. From 1979 to 1981, John Jones and Shirley. From 1987 to 1988, Bob Osgood. From 1990 to 1992, Ernie Kinney. From 1992 to 1994, Mike Seastrom. He was 13. He still looks 15. From 1994 to 1996, having not reached maturity yet, Tony Oxidine. I got a lot of paybacks to give. 1996 to 1998, my good friend Jerry Junk. Congratulate them, please. And finally, of the 117 callers that attended the 1974 convention 25 years ago, 16 are with us today. Since the last group didn't stand, we'll ask this group to stand. Please stand and be recognized as I call your name. This is quite an accomplishment. Herb Egginger, Marshall Flippo, Jerry Hagg, Bob Howe, John Jones, John Kaltenthaler, Frank Lane, Melton Luttrell, Martin Mallard, Jim Mayo, Jack Murtha, Bob Osgood, Von Parrish, Joe Young, and Francis Zeller. Give them a nice hand. Let's all stand for a moment and have a moment of silence for those callers and partners that are no longer with us. Thank you. This time I'd like to introduce the newly elected and re-elected members of the board. The newly elected board members are Clark Baker, Belmont, Massachusetts, Doug Bennett, Dallas, Texas, and Larry Davenport, Foster City, California. Board members re-elected to a 3-year term. Tim Crawford, Burlington, Ontario. Bill Harris, Cheltenham, Maryland. Jerry Justin, Yuma, Arizona, Delburn, Alberta. Tom Miller, Chess Springs, Pennsylvania. Wayne Morvent, Silsbee, Texas, I think that's the capital. Nasser Shoe Care, Lafayette, California. Would all of you please come forward? Yes, give them a hand. Would all of you please come forward to be sworn in? As I introduce the incumbent members of the board, I'd ask them to stand in place and join in taking the oath of office. Greg Anderson, Dee Dee Doherty Lottie, Randy Doherty, Betsy Gata, Jerry Junk, John Kaltenthaler, Martin Mallard, John Marshall, Jim Mayo, Tony Oxendine, Deborah Parnell, Mike Seastrom, Al Stevens, Jerry Story, John Sybalsky. Retiring this year from the board will be Betsy Gata and Jerry Junk. To administer the oath of the office, our Executive Director, George White. Sorry, Mike, your name's not on the list. Mike Jacobs. Man told me if it ain't on the list, don't say it.
He listens carefully to me. Please raise your right hand. I state your name. Accept this position of trust as a serious responsibility and pledge my services during my term on the CALLERLAB Board of Governors. I will put the welfare of my fellow members before my personal feelings. I will support the decisions of the majority and abide by the CALLERLAB Code of Ethics. All this I pledge as my support of the ideals of CALLERLAB. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen.
At this time, I'd like the committee chairman or vice chairman to come to the floor mics and take a couple of minutes to tell us what they will be discussing in their committee meetings. Please introduce yourself as you come to the mic. Not all of you at once.
Yona Chalk, Contra and Traditional Dance Committee. Our committee meeting is this afternoon at 1:30. Now that we have a website alive and well, we'll be moving ahead on our Heritage 2000 project, collecting and recording dances from all over the country and all different ages of the country, hopefully all different ethnic backgrounds. Anyone's welcome to come. If you've not been a member of the committee before, we welcome new members. 1:30, Mustang Room, Contra and Traditional Dance.
Good morning. Jim Wass, Riverdale, Maryland, the Accreditation Committee. And this morning at 10:45, we meet in the Gold Room and continue our discussion of a voluntary program to certify qualities as square dance teachers. Please join us.
Good morning. Dana Shermer, Chairman of the Basic Mainstream Committee. We will be meeting this afternoon at 3:30 in the Gold Room. Our discussion will be on the surveys that are out right now in the biannual review and also some discussion on definitions. We encourage all members to be there, and even non-members, if you'd like to come join us, we'd like your input. Thank you.
Bob Stern, Advanced Committee, this afternoon at 1:30 in the Silver Room. We would like to see all members who might be interested in the Advanced Committee or who already are members. We have a lot of things to discuss. We should have an hour and a half of full activity. Thank you.
Larry Davenport, Chairman of the Plus Committee. In your program, the small one, would you please note that we're at 5 o'clock Tuesday afternoon instead of 1:30. Somehow I was supposed to be in 3 places on 1:30. We are basically going to be discussing some feedback that we've gotten from the questionnaire that went out to Plus Committee members and plans for this coming biennial review.
My name is Mike Seastrom. I'm chairman of the newly formed Square Dance Issues Committee. This committee will meet at 1:30 tomorrow in the Gold Room. This committee is charged with examining issues other than the program list that are significant to square dancing. We have a lot of information to discuss. Committee will be like a steering house to make sure that the standing committees in CALLERLAB and other organizations are aware and are addressing the other issues with regard to the future of our activity. Please come. It's tomorrow at 1:30 in the Gold Room.
I'm Wayne Morvant with the Choreographic Applications Committee. This afternoon in Silver Room at 3:30, we will be finalizing the drawings of 15 formations that have not been identified by arrangement up to this point. This morning, there is a new subcommittee under the Choreographic Applications Committee at 10:30 in Silver Room. The purpose of this committee is to be a place if you have questions about the proper application of extended applications of movements. If you have a movement and you're not sure that it's being used properly within the definition, you can write to this committee and they will review that and give you back feedback whether this is being used properly within the framework of the definition. Is that correct, John? Enough on that? And John Jones will be the chair of that subcommittee. 10:30 this morning in Silver Room.
Martin Mallard, Caller Coach Committee. The Caller Coach Committee meeting is tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, it's a closed session for caller coaches. We are holding two informals where the people who are interested in the Caller Coach Committee and how it functions and so forth, we invite you all to come to that, and we'll field your questions and interests for you.
Deborah Parnell, Women in Calling Committee. We meet at 10:45 this morning in the Mustang Room. One of the projects that we are beginning work on, we would like to compile a database of the top 10 singing calls that any women callers have in their case, so we have a reference point for newer women callers. Jerry Hardy is my vice chair. We have some ideas in mind, but we are seeking active input from this committee. It is open to all women callers and any other interested callers and parties. Please come and join us.
Jerry Hardy, Education Committee Chair. We are meeting tomorrow at 1:30 in the Silver Room, and any and all Education Committee members should attend this meeting, and anyone who's interested. Our project that has been ongoing for a couple of years now is a booklet we're putting together for callers to use in the public schools. And anyone who has any experience in the public schools teaching square dancing or any kind of dance should come to this meeting and share with us. We will be showing a video of some of the work that I've done, and also Bob Morrison, who is from Georgia, who's been doing great things in that southern state. So come at 1:30 Tuesday in the Silver Room. Thanks.
My name is John Calton-Zoller, Chairman of the Caller Training Committee. We meet at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon in the court room. Our project, which we're currently doing now, is the Best of CALLERLAB tapes, the tapes since 1980, dealing with most of the subjects that pertain to our skills as callers. We also would encourage anyone who is involved with the training of callers to come to our meeting and share your ideas.
I'm John Sybalsky. I chair the R&D committee. We meet tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. We're working on a couple of surveys, one an assessment of the skills and interests of CALLERLAB members, and the other a set of surveys to find out about what people like and don't like about the convention. In addition, the website committee meets this morning at 10:45. If you'd like to find out more or would like to volunteer to help out, either doing graphics design or content editing, come on over.
Ed Foote, Challenge Committee, will be meeting tomorrow afternoon to discuss possible changes to the challenge list, since 1999 is a voting year, and also to discuss any other items pertaining to the field of challenge that may be of interest to anybody.
Patricia Wall for the RPM Committee. RPM stands for Recruit, Promote, and Maintain, for recruiting new dancers, promoting square dancing, and maintaining our existing dancers. We're going to meet tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the courtroom. We'll be discussing various topics. We'd like to invite you all to come.
My name is Vernon Jones, and I'm chairman of the Callers Association Liaison Committee, and this committee's main focus is to be the go-between between CALLERLAB and the Callers Associations, and also from the Callers Association to CALLERLAB and spreading concerns back and forth. I would like to invite everybody to attend the meeting that we're having at 10:45 tomorrow in the Silver Room. Also, I hate to take up too much of your time, but I'd also like to take care of some non-committee, just one quick announcement, but it does have to do with the convention. As past president of the North Texas Callers Association, I asked for several volunteers to help with the movement of equipment that Dick Henschel is supplying for the convention, And if we could meet at the Hilton booth in the vendor area at approximately between 9:45 and 10 o'clock, we need to get organized so we can help move equipment. I know who you were that volunteered, and most importantly, you know who you were that volunteered, and I expect to see you there. Thank you.
Jerry Justin, chairman of the newly formed Choreography Review Committee. This committee is charged with making sure the choreography in emphasis call announcements is standard application, usage of the selected calls. The committee is also charged with writing the choreography used to illustrate emphasis calls and to review choreography created by the Quarterly Selection Committee for QS Moves. If you're interested in this aspect, please attend. It's at the Gold Room. It's on Tuesday at 9 a.m. The membership on the committee is limited to selected callers, but during this convention, the meetings are open to everybody here.
Kathy Davenport, Partners Chair. Our committee meeting will actually be 3:30 today in the courtroom. However, we have sessions at 1:30 today, 9 o'clock tomorrow, and we have our Partners Informals at 10:45 tomorrow morning.
Guy Adams, Public Relations Committee. We meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the Mustang Room, and one of our big projects this year is to come up with a information packet to be sent out to advertising agencies who are considering using square dancing in their media campaigns, and we are going to come up with a packet of positive material that they can use to show square dancing in a positive light. We invite you to attend the meeting.
Clark Baker, the Definitions Subcommittee. We've been working on revising the mainstream definitions, and I'm going to have a meeting at 10:45 tomorrow in the Gold Room. You can either grab me in the hallway or attend that meeting if you have any comments or suggestions. Thank you.
Tim Crawford from the newly formed Canadian Advisories the Canadian.
Easy for you to say.
Advisory Committee. It's new. We're meeting at 1:30 in Gold. We have three principal issues: the Canadian-U.S. international border, trying to arrange some sort of a reciprocal agreement. So if you're interested in that and don't want to be arrested when you come to Canada, you might want to attend. Second issue is discussing SOCAN. Again, if you're calling in Canada, SOCAN is the equivalent, for lack of a better description, BMI and ASCAP. In Canada now, we're required to purchase licenses the same way that we are here in the United States. And last but not least, we are going to put forth or try to put together our proposal for sponsoring a mini lab in the coming years in Toronto. And we will be sponsoring a short, that's it. Thank you.
These reports were given very professionally this morning. Give these committee folks a nice hand. At this time, I'd like to introduce the chairman of the Issues Committee, Mr. Mike Seastrom.
In response to the enormous amount of mail that the CALLERLAB Home Office and the Board of Governors received last year regarding two principal things, first T2000 and other related issues in square dancing, the Board of Governors last year formed a Square Dance Issues Committee that later on during the year became a standing committee. And this committee was charged to look at issues other than the program list that affect the future of the activity. Anyway, this committee is about 70 members, and there were suggestions regarding all the other issues that were related to square dancing. These issues included topics such as perceived image of square dancing, current lifestyles, public relations, marketing, recruiting, maintaining dancers, costumes and dress code, class availability, teaching, adequate teaching time, entry dances and their availability, transition from class to clubs, leadership issues such as leadership training, caller attitude, dancer leader attitudes, dancer attitudes, the overemphasis on choreo complexity, the underemphasis on sociability, caller issues such as caller recruitment, caller training, continuing education for callers, caller preparation, and additional issues like an easier entry program, motivate local callers associations, teaching traditions and history, and caller unity. This committee was polled as to the importance of each one of these issues, and the issues were then related. And in the top 10 issues, the issue importance, those issues came to be such things as recruiting, caller attitude, teaching, maintaining dancers, dancer leader attitude, caller training, marketing, continuing education for callers, dancer attitudes, leadership training, public relations, adequate teaching time, and caller preparation, and transition of class to clubs. All of those were the top 10 categories. When you look at those specific issues, as their importance, these things come into about 3 general areas. One is our external public relations, the public relations of square dancing to the outside world. Number 2 is our internal public relations and our internal communication, which is the communication between CALLERLAB and other national organizations, CALLERLAB and other regional and local caller associations, and communications and public relations between dance leaders, dance associations, and dancers. And also the last issue that was in the general category were caller education issues. This committee has been charged with making sure that these specific issues are referred to the appropriate standing committees so that these committees can develop an action plan with a due date, and these issues will then be addressed and acted upon by the standing committees. If there is not a standing committee that is specifically focused on that issue, that will be taken care of by the Square Dance Issues Committee, or in turn referred to the appropriate national organization where that issue may have some bearing. The issues that are involved with external public relations include recruiting, marketing, and square dance image. Yesterday, the Board of Governors received a discussion or received a presentation on marketing, being able to market the product of square dancing, which you'll hear more about at a later point in time at this convention. Also, we discussed internal public relations, which are the way that CALLERLAB relates to the other organizations, and actually the communication, the intercommunication that does or does not occur in the square dance activity. Public relations within ourselves. And the caller education issues that concern teaching, continuing caller education, and the development of people and leadership skills on the part of callers and dance leaders. The Dale Carnegie, the motivational type skills that so many of us need in order to motivate and excite our dancers and to make square dancing a more positive and plus activity. This committee is set up to address these issues, to be a steering house for these issues, and to make sure that they're not lost or hidden in any place in the activity. The possible considerations that we have looked at in these issues is the recruiting of new dancers is not as effective as we would like, that teaching new dancers is often rushed, that the transition from class to club is difficult, and that the friendliness and sociability that is an integral part of the square dance experience is sometimes overshadowed by the technical aspects. The attitude of callers and dancers seems to be a problem by some, and we must do a much better job of marketing square dancing. The current lifestyles in our society often conflict with our entry requirements, and the difficulty of those dances that are available restricts the appeal of square dancing. This committee was charged as a result of all the information that went over to T2000 last year to look at all the other aspects of the activity that could possibly be related to the future and the popularity of square dancing. And I applaud the Board of Governors for this action. I appreciate the fact that we can look at these issues and develop action plans so that we can actually do something. Mr. Chairman, I thank you. Thank you.
The folks that you've seen working the registration booth out there consist of Georgie Johnson, who is our administrative secretary. You might thank her for all she does as you visit that area. Dar Johnson, who is our finance administrator, the same there. Helping those folks is George's wife, Pat White, and Jerry's wife, Del Reed. It's long hours and it's kind of a thankless job. Sometime go by and say, we appreciate you doing all of this work. Next on the agenda is the chairman of the Board of Governors Program Policy Committee, Mr. Kip Garvey.
Thank you. Well, good morning. The Program Policy Committee is probably one of the lesser-known committees among our members. The Board of Governors Program Policy Committee was established in 1987 and consists of the chairpersons and vice chairpersons from each of the dance program committees, as well as the chairperson of the definition subcommittee, the Clark Baker this year. This past year, the Program Policy Committee has been charged with extensive dialogue and analysis regarding the structure of our dance programs and is continuing to develop policy and guidelines that will successfully take us into the 21st century. The issues regarding dance programs, as many of you know, are diverse and complex. Each dance committee conducts its own business. The Program Policy Committee never interferes with the operations of the individual dance program committees. But when action is taken by one committee that has an impact on other program committees, the Policy Committee will step forward to help resolve any conflicts. One overriding goal of the Program Policy Committee is anticipating future problems with the dance programs. The Program Policy Committee is actively addressing questions regarding how the dance programs are, can't even read my own writing, designed and implemented well into the next century, with the precise goal of increasing recruitment and retention of dancers. I could use Mike Seastrom's glasses. Though the challenges regarding our current dance programs are very popular and highly visible dance programs, sometimes seem overwhelming, be assured that constant reevaluation and analysis of our dance programs is ongoing on a weekly and monthly basis to assure that our square dance community has the most vital and necessary tools at their disposal for the future overall good and preservation of square dancing. You need to tie this presentation into the one that Mike just gave, because it is extremely important for all of us to realize that the Board of Governors has never shirked its responsibility of addressing the entire picture of square dancing, not just the dance programs, but everything else that affects the operation of square dance callers and affects our retention and recruitment of dancers in the activity. It's ongoing, and it will continue to go that way. If you're interested, by the way, in seeing some of the discussions that go on during the Program Policy Committee meeting, you're welcome to join us at 5 p.m. tonight in the Mustang Room. The Program Policy Committee has presented to the Board of Governors an action plan. They saw it for the first time last night in the middle of their Board of Governors meeting at 10:30 p.m. In the middle of their Board of Governors meeting. They haven't had a chance to analyze it, but I can rest assured each and every one of you that this action plan will be taken a close look at by every member of this board, and if it's inappropriate in any way, it'll get tossed back at the Program Policy Committee for tweaking. Hopefully, by this time next year, we'll have something very definite we can put in your hands regarding the future of our dance programs into the 21st century. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kip. The amount of work over the last couple of years that both Mike Seastrom and Kip Garvey have put into these two respective committees would stagger all of us if we asked them to give us some kind of an hourly accounting. If you get a chance and pass them in the hallway, even though you don't fully know everything that they have done, thank them for it, will you? How many of you have the capability and with any regularity use email? How many of you understand it? No. How many of you have the capability and with any regularity explore the World Wide Web? How many of you know that CALLERLAB has a web page that is up and active? And it's nicely done, and it makes a nice presentation. If you aren't aware of it, aren't sure how to get there, if you will contact John Sybalsky as you pass him somewhere, he would love to talk to you about it a little bit. He and his committee did an awful lot of work with it, and when you bring it up on your computer screen, it looks very nice. We applaud them, please. Next on the agenda is Mr. Jerry Story.
Good morning. Teaching basic classes is fundamentally the most important part of keeping our activity alive and well. Systematically speaking, accommodating the new dancers is equally important. Our system works best when we all follow this basic line of leadership. In the fast-paced world that we now all live in, we find this responsibility to be a true test of our commitment to the values we all hold so dear. For as long as I can remember, teaching classes has been an undaunted and undeniable challenge that we all face year after year, class after class. Teaching new people to square dance and accommodating them early in the game has always been and always will be the most deserving accolade to be bestowed upon any caller or leader in this activity. So many times over the past decade, excuse me, we have put far too much emphasis on programs and fancy choreography, when in fact the answers to most of our problems can be found right here in the trenches of teaching new people to square dance. No one has ever said that teaching classes was easy or lucrative. Most times it's quite the contrary. Many times we get so wrapped up in our own worlds of plus, advanced, challenge, that we forget sometimes to pay tribute to those who choose to remain in the trenches, doing most of the heavy lifting. This is why I've been asked to make this speech today. You will be able to identify those who we honor this morning by the distinctive ribbons you will see being worn by many of our members following this session. These ribbons are to honor you for your dedication and to give each of us the opportunity to know who you are and the chance to talk with you and thank you for your contribution to the modern Western square dance activity. The turquoise ribbons signify this individual teaches basic classes. Would all those who teach basic classes please stand at this time so we can all show you how much we appreciate the effort you are putting forth for the good of us all? Please give these leaders of the basic program a nice round of applause. Would all of you please come up front? We're going to give you the ribbon for teaching basic classes. We'd like you to wear this ribbon so all of us can know who you are and we can get together and talk with you and find out what you're doing that we're not. To keeping our activity fresh and marketable, we must accommodate these new dancers with a place for them to enjoy our activity unencumbered by the push to higher level programs. The white ribbons you will soon see being worn signify that these individuals are running basic dance programs for the new dancers. Will all those who run basic programs on a regular basis please stand at this time so we can show you how much we appreciate the effort you are putting forth for the good of the activity. A nice round of applause for the leaders of the basic program. Please come up and receive your distinctive white ribbons. You may have to find some tape out in the hall. They don't have any sticky stuff on them, but please try to get them on your badges so we know who you are, so we have a chance to come up and thank you and also spark up some dialogue with you. Is there room on the pin for them? You can get some. You may be seated. The times we live in are very busy and complex. Callers have less time to devote to their hobby than they have had in the past. Because of this, we have seen over the years an escalation of callers and clubs move from the basic list into the mainstream arena and then right on into the plus program, and still try to produce new dancers to join them. We have all found out that this is a very tough job and creates many repercussions that have rippled through our activity for the past 2 decades. It has made it terrifically tough for even the mainstream program to survive in many areas of our great country, let alone the basic program. This is obvious simply by the show of numbers of callers who received the basic program ribbons this morning. As we search for unity and solutions to this particular problem that we are faced with, we should take the time to pay tribute to those who have chosen not to go down this road. The green ribbons you see being worn signify these individuals are running mainstream programs on a regular basis. All of those who will be wearing a green ribbon, please stand at this time so we can show you how much we appreciate the fortitude you have shown by staying with the mainstream program. Please give these individuals a nice round of applause. Come forward and receive your ribbons, please. If any of us are interested in finding out more about these callers' programs and having them explain to us how they continue to make it work for them, just look for their distinctive ribbons and spend some time bending their ear. Do I think these particular callers are lucky and live in an area which is more conducive to basic mainstream? Maybe, but I doubt this theory actually holds that much water. Commitment, diplomacy, enthusiasm, and just a little bit of marketing and business acumen would closer describe these individual situations. Those who are committed to the basic and mainstream programs possess the attributes I just mentioned. I would like to thank every one of you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today and give credit where credit is truly due. I would also like to make mention of the fact and thank all of those who have taught classes in the past. Your efforts did not go unnoticed and were also very much appreciated. However, we are honoring those who are teaching classes and running basic or mainstream programs today. These individuals deserve all of the gratitude that modern Western square dancing and CALLERLAB can bestow upon you. Thank you all very much.
Though he did not tell you, the program that was just presented was Jerry Story's idea. Mike, did you find him? Is Jim Hensley in the room by any chance? Yes. Now, Mike. Mike, would you come and introduce, please? Mike Seastrom again, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me just say that Mr. Hensley, Jim Hensley, came to a new dancer class that I was conducting a couple of years ago, and he can relate to you a little bit more the story of how he actually was challenged to become a square dancer. But we began discussions early on in class experience about public relations and the image of square dancing to the general public and some of the barriers that keep people from actually even entering our activity. And we began to talk about the inability of square dancing over the years to communicate and to develop a viable public relations program with the outside world. We talked about certain activities, certain religious groups, certain small groups such as storytelling groups, bowling, other activities that have developed incredible public relations campaign over the years to excite people and to build their ranks. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the U.S. Army's program many years ago when they started their campaign of Be All That You Can Be. Well, a lot of people were motivated to become part of that, to become part of the U.S. Army because of that campaign. And we were talking about other related campaigns and thought that this is a unique activity in the sense that we're not motivated or driven by a profit machine or by selling bowling balls or equipment or something like that. And there is a possibility that we can develop those kind of programs in square dancing, but only if we unite and only if we work it out all together to be able to make it happen. And so through our discussions, I was able to invite Jim to the CALLERLAB convention. Yesterday he gave a presentation to the Board of Governors, and the Board of Governors are discussing that proposal right now and our options around proposals such as this. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Hensley from Creative Marketing Services and have him tell you a little bit about what the possibilities are and what we have here in square dancing and where we can go from here. So, Mr. Jim Hensley.
Thank you. I'm Jim, and I'm a dancer. I say that because I have friends who do a lot of 12-step work, and you know, one of the discoveries they've just made is, in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, that depression, which bothers about something like 12 to 14 million people in America, that one of these solutions is more touching, more hugging. These are medical results, and so I feel like this is a 12-step program for the correction of depression. And so I'm Jim. I'm a dancer. Thank you. This is really impromptu because I was almost not awake. I got me up a few minutes ago, and I want to thank you. 3 years ago, I was given a keynote address to a bunch of top-level business people, trying to make them understand that America isn't the same in business cycles anymore, and that the last cycle didn't come back. As my friend Rod Shipley would say, the caller, we just have to wait around, and I've been through 3 of these cycles, Jim. This business will just come right back, and square dancing will come back the way it is. And nothing will come back the way it is after this last cycle. We're not the same country. And I was using square dancing, that I knew nothing about, as a metaphor to try to make these business executives understand that. And I said, for instance, there's a product out there in the market that is undoubtedly the most politically correct, healthiest social activity in the world today, but because these people don't know they have a product, and because the leadership in that group doesn't understand that, and that product, by the way, is square dancing, and because they don't know that and don't understand the changes they're going to need to make in this new move, it probably won't exist in a decade or two, and we'll lose this great American heritage. And, you know, that was just a point in this overall presentation. And as soon as I finished, everybody was congratulating me, except there was 2 guys at the back of the room, and they were waiting until everybody else left because they didn't want to embarrass me, and they were mad as hell, and they weren't going to put up with it anymore. And they happened to be, I found out later, a couple of students of Mike Seastrom's class, and they said, hey, guy, you may know a lot about marketing, but you don't know what the hell's going on about anything else, because this is too much fun for it to ever die out. And besides, we belong to a group and it's doing all that. And by the way, if you're so smart, why don't you come down and see for sure for yourself? And I did, because I was trying to prove that they were wrong and I was right. And a year later, a reasonably decent plus dancer, the good news is that you do have the most politically correct product in the world, which happens to also be the healthiest product in the world. The bad news is that if you want your grandkids to enjoy it the way you do, we have to start understanding that we need to see it differently. We need to experience it differently. There isn't a lot of big manufacturing companies in an association of square dance manufacturing that's got the clout, the dollars, and the know-how to push your product. This is a uniquely interesting business, if you want to consider it that way, or activity. It's caller-driven and dancer-driven. It's not manufacturing-driven. I sat on a board 5 years ago of someone mentioned, I think before, Mike, or someone, bowling. And the bowling industry, of which they're very unified, very organized. There's an association of bowling equipment manufacturers. They have an executive director, and they have all these key people. And they have professional marketing people, and they do marketing study when they need to do it. And they said the people came back from doing their marketing study and said, wait, we got to change things. We're losing the young people. And I don't know if you've been in a bowling alley in the last year, a new one. It doesn't look anything like it did 10 years ago. Totally different. It looks like a 60s disco with lights and neon alleys and lighted up bowling balls, and the pins do all kinds of crazy things, and there's dance music going over here, and the kids are coming back. It wasn't an accident. It didn't happen because we waited for a cycle to come back. And it didn't happen because we were fragmented. It happened because they got together. I remember as a young marketing person 25, 30 years ago, people dropped dead eating some cranberries one time. And there's nobody more fragmented and disassociated than a bunch of cranberry growers, these peat bog farmers up in the New England area. And those of you from that area know what I'm talking about. They don't even talk to each other, let alone work together. And yet within 24 hours, 92% of them were sitting down at the same table, and a week later, when the reports came back in, they were writing out checks together. And of course, you're eating and buying more cranberries than you ever did, and we forgot about those deaths, and we forgot about that problem, and we went on to enjoy this product in a different way. I don't want to take any more time because I know you got other agenda, and this is just an impromptu thing. But one of the important factors, obviously, that I went out and on my own did about a 1.5-year market study in about 15 different market areas. I didn't get very much back on the eastern seaboard, but I got pretty much the rest of the country. I think we have badly underestimated the image problem. And that's something difficult for you because you're right next to those damn trees. You really can't step back like I can and look at the overall forest. And that image problem is not just the hee-haw phenomenon, as I call it. It's not just the fact that we think there are certain people who still think that we climb out of pickup trucks in Bakersfield dancing to hee-haw. It's much more than that. It's much deeper than that. Much deeper than that. I did a program for the National Dinner Theater Association, and they couldn't understand why people weren't coming to dinner theater. And we found out the men in America are threatened by theater. That's crazy, but they are. And so we did everything possible to build the new dinner theaters with that knowledge and that information. We used the male colors to design the interior dinner theaters. We took away the idea that men didn't know how to order tickets because they don't know what the word loge means, and they were afraid they don't know how to dress and all this stuff. We made it simple, easy. We didn't let them park your car because men don't like to have their cars parked. All these things made us be able to build a better dinner theater to where men still had to be drug in the first time, but once they got drug in and they weren't uncomfortable and they had a good time, on the way out, they say, hey, I see you got another show going. Let's put 2 seats aside for me and the old lady, okay? The same guy who was threatened before is not threatened now. All I'm suggesting is take the time to make the discovery with some professional help on what this image problem is, 1. 2, start to understand this wonderful social activity as a product and know that this is the world's most competitive marketplace for your dancers' time and attention, energy, loyalty, and dollars. Although dollars is very minimal, I think you need to charge more money because part of the way I evaluate a product. No. I don't understand. I went to Bakersfield 2 weekends ago, paid $50 and worked my tail off and had a ball all night Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. A week before then, I went and listened to some few people for a weekend, got half that amount, and paid $250 for a seminar. I paid $50 for the Bakersfield experience. You know, part of the way we evaluate product is how much we have to pay for it. I know that's not the total answer, but I'm saying to you, you've got to start to understand the product you've got, that it is a product. It's a very important product. We are beginning to appreciate American heritage. You are American heritage. You don't understand. I was talking about image problem, and I took my dancer. We went to a show about 6 months ago. It was called Mrs. Brown. And I've been complaining and talking. I said, the hee-haw problem and all this stuff. And we went, and I don't know if any of you saw Mrs. Brown. This is the lady who was nominated for the Academy Award. It was the story of Queen Elizabeth. But there's about an 8-minute segment in there in which the best, most important people in the world, in the finest clothes in the world, are sitting in her Scotland castle, and they're doing, guess what? A square dance. It's called a quadrille or whatever. But these 8 people are moving the same moves that I got taught by Mike Seastrom to do 2 years ago. And if you wanted to use a choice of people and costumes and outfits and everything else, this is the top of the ladder, not the bottom of the ladder. This is the antithesis of any kind of a hee-haw problem. You don't have an image problem. We have to communicate what square dance's history was, how important it is to our heritage, and how much fun it is. The problem is not that we don't. The problem is always one of content and message. It's not that we're worrying about how many weeks we have to teach or what kind of costume we do or the dance. We've got to find a way to communicate the fun. That's what we've got to find a way to do. And I'm suggesting to you, get the professional help you need to do it, start to understand your activity as a product, and that can take place, believe me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I'm certainly glad I'm not next. With all of our extensive pre-planning for this morning, not funny, we're ahead of schedule. Don't get excited, I ain't turning you loose. Seated over here on this side with his back to us, ignoring his clear against the wall, is Mark. Mark, stand. He's from Convention Tapes International, away from home. Today's his birthday. He's Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. I don't know what you want for your birthday, Mark. That's good. You're not getting it anyway. From Canada, Mr. Tim Crawford.
Happy belated birthday.
Yes. I must tell you that there is nothing that I like better than to get up here on a Monday morning, on a rainy Monday morning in Dallas, Texas, and follow Jim Hensley. I'd like to say what a pleasure it is to be up here. I would like to say what a pleasure it is to be up here. First, let me say good morning to you all, and welcome to the 1999 CALLERLAB Convention. It's good to see everybody up and about this morning, and everybody seems like they're in a pretty good mood. I hope. It's also especially really good to see Tony with us this morning. He had a scary moment last night. You might not know about this. He entered into his hotel room. He got locked in the room for quite a while. He went in there, turned around. There's a sign on the door that said, "Do not disturb." He was in there for 4 hours before he finally got out. That sign says, "He who laughs last is the slowest." This convention is called Find 'em, Hook 'em, Keep 'em. So I think it's probably, in my humble opinion, probably the most important thing that we can talk about at this point in time in the square dance world. This theme parallels the very essence of a worldwide corporate return to sales and service. And this theme will help us to see the all too often forgotten part of the modern Western square dancing. Rather than focusing on the technical choreographic intellectualities manifesting itself in a realization of an epiphany as we face a perception of the millennium. I'd like to thank Kip Garvey for helping with that sentence. Or in my own words, instead of focusing on the technical stuff, we should think about the fun. The fun is really what this is all about, and square dancing offers a lot of fun, a lot of motion and physical stuff that we don't spend enough time talking about. It's a great place to meet friends. So who is M, or who are M? Who is M? They obviously are our customers, or our potential customers. Those people that we will enjoy having at our dance, and those people that will enjoy being had. So how do we find and hook and keep these people? Well, it's a good thing you're here, just like Jim said. It's a good thing that you're here because you have an opportunity now to participate in the answers to those questions. Our panelists, there are too few to mention, or too many to mention. You can just look at the sheet there. They've all gained experience, and by the way, experience is something that you don't get until just after you need it. They all have experience in these subjects. Am I going too fast for some? Because we are ahead of schedule. I could slow it down if you want. And these panelists have lots of experience in their selected, this is supposed to be serious, selected areas, and they'll guide you and they'll help you through a discussion. And these are discussions. And that's what's important, I think, the participation. They're three separate categories, and it's important that you take time to participate. The find them category is an overview, or actually I have an overview. Well, you have an overview. I won't bore you with the overview, but the find them category has certainly some things that you might want to look at. As a matter of fact, here it is right here. We have one very important panel is a media promotion. A little bit later on, you'll be able to participate in brainstorming on how to get the media to promote square dancing a little bit for us. Recruiting from dance parties. That's a great place to do it. And where do people come from? An actual discussion on where we find these people. And then two of probably the best-looking, youngest, and most talented square dance callers will be doing a thing on demonstrations. And that's in that would be Tim Mariner and myself. Rather than you having to look at the schedule, I'll just tell you. I'll give you the answers. You know, it's interesting, at home I own and operate my own insurance company. I employ 14 people. We do like $8 million in sales, and it's interesting that this convention is exactly what I address in my own office. We spend time trying to figure out how we generate new business. Interestingly enough, I'll relate a story as we go along here. I'll tell you at the end. Anyways, but the second part of this is the hook 'em. Once we get them in, then in fact, how do we hook them? And some of those categories would be dancing is learning. Make sure you get to that one. That should be good. Concern for our clients. That sounds like something I just spoke about in my office the other day. Unfortunately, I had to let a couple of people go as a result. So I actually currently have openings in my office. Through how do you say that? Sociability. These are all, and teaching dancing, these are all things that you should take time to participate in. And again, remember, it is a participation, so you need to get there and you need to speak. The panelists and the moderators are there to just look after getting things going, but you need to participate. The keep 'em category, we've got keep 'em with patter, keep 'em with singing calls, keep 'em with theme tip, keep 'em with smoothness, and bribe them. So those are all different things that will help keep people. And in each one of those categories, there are certain things that people, you need to help identify some of the key elements of each one of those three categories. For example, in my own world, I know that the find them category, I'm pretty good at finding them. I spend a lot of time going out. My wife and I work as a team, and I go out and find these people and do demonstrations, and we do really well at that. The hooking part, my wife is a better hooker than I am, so she goes and does that. She will never hear these tapes. Oh boy. I told her that the tapes are not available anyways. So. And the keep 'em category, I think that my wife and I work as a great team to keep people in our club. So we work as a team. Everybody should do that together. You may not know this, but I do have a slide presentation about my 3-month-old son. You might not know this, but I just became a father for the first time in December. I have a 3-month-old. Thank you. And just thank you. I have pictures which I'll make available a little bit later on. They'll be at the registration desk. He kind of looks like Tom Miller if you take a good look at him. So does every 3-month-old baby look like Tom. I just got the John Jones stare. It's not quite as threatening from Tom Miller. Anyways, I just want to relay a quick story of what I was saying about find a hook and keep 'em, how it applies to my real business. You know that I just became a father. We attended last week a a birthday for someone else that was in our prenatal classes where we learned how to breathe and stuff. We went to, and anyways, we met these other people and we went to a little birthday party, a 3-month-old birthday party for some folks. And it was really lots of fun, but there was a lady there that I had never met before. And in my insurance business, I'm always prospecting for new customers and et cetera. Anyways, at this Christmas party, or at this birthday party, their dog jumped up on the table and ate an entire birthday cake. And then the poor dog was really sick all over the carpet and everything, so she came to me instantly and she said, "Oh my God, this is terrible. It's ruined the carpet. Is this covered under my homeowner's policy?" And I said, "Well, luckily I'm an insurance broker and I can advise you on this." And the answer is yes, it is in fact covered. By the way, here's my card and you should discuss this with me a little bit more. So she talked to me the next day, and I was really concerned about the dog because in fact in the cake she had baked a whole bunch of coins. 15 coins, as a matter of fact, so that when the kids, well, there are no kids, they're all infants, they can't chew cake anyways, they just gum it to death, but the adults were eating cake, and they would find coins, and she thought that'd be really fun. Anyhow, to make a long story even longer, basically what happened was the dog they had found three coins on the carpet where the dog had suddenly been sick, sadly. And it was quite, the poor dog was on his deathbed, essentially, because he had essentially 11 coins? No. 12 coins in his stomach still. And so the next 3 days, the vet said that you're going to have to follow the dog around and you're going to have to account for all the coins. And because I was concerned and because I wanted this person as my client and I needed to show concern, I called her on the second day and I asked her how things were going. And she said, "Well, not so good." I asked her how the dog was, and she said, "Well, not too bad." So I said I would call her again a little bit later, and in the back of my mind, I was thinking that I really want this person to be my customer. So I thought I pretty much had her. I found her. I've hooked her now, almost hooked her. So the third day or the fourth day, I called her back again, because I love animals, essentially, which explains my relationship with Bill Harrison and Tom. I actually love animals, and in fact, on that fourth day, I called her again, and I said, I asked her, this lady, at this point, is not even my customer, and I think at that point, it was borderline harassment at that point. But I asked her, in fact, how the dog was making out, and she said, no change. To get it, no change means... And in conclusion, do you ever notice how success is always done privately and failure is public? Oh, this is going to work perfect now. This convention, in my opinion, is a place to start a rebirth. This is for us to start thinking about something that we perhaps have not talked about at CALLERLAB conventions in a very long time. And that's talking about the fun, put the fun back in it, and let's not worry a whole lot about the technical stuff, albeit that is incredibly important in our activity. But it's important to remember that these discussions that you go into today, there are no right answers and there are no wrong answers, which is the reason I agreed to be a panelist this year. In fact, this is a brainstorming session about the rebirth of our activity. I want you to enter those meetings and take down some ideas. And remember, to steal ideas from one person is plagiarism, but to take them from many, many people is research. So it's okay to take down a whole bunch of information. Take these ideas home and try them. And remember, if at first you don't succeed, well, skydiving's not for you. But if at first you don't succeed, I want you to try and try and try and try. Our future, every one of us, our future depends solely upon your success. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for the time you have granted me, and I respectfully rest.
Tim Crawford. Tim, I would comment that your association with John Jones has done you well. You presented that just as John would have. There you go, only quicker. There is only one person I would ever even think about allowing to follow Tim Crawford. George White, our executive director.
Thank you, Larry. He's really stepped in and taken over this chairman's job like a pro, hasn't he? By the way, he's no longer the acting chairman of the board. He was elected by the board last night to be the full chairman. I have a message here for Jeanette Steible, so if you can come up and pick it up right after the session is over. Anyone interested in running for the Board of Governors can pick up a petition at the registration desk. You must have been an active member in good standing for the 4 most recent years and obtain the signatures of 25 voting members. Nominees will be given a few minutes to campaign at the annual meeting on Wednesday. We will be voting for 8 board members this year. Petitions may be turned in at the convention registration desk or mailed to the home office by July 1st. The exhibitors, I think you've all found them, are located in the assembly ballroom.
George, please qualify that running for the board by telling the folks what time the meeting adjourned last evening.
It didn't adjourn last evening. It adjourned at 2 o'clock this morning. Not in the bar, right? Bars were closed by the time we let Tony loose last night.
Therefore, Tony Oxendine is present this morning.
I'm sure you've all found the exhibitors by now in the assembly ballroom just on the other side of that air wall. The hours are posted outside the door. All interest sessions will be audio taped by Convention Tapes International. It's very important that you use a microphone if you wish to ask a question or make a comment so that it can get recorded on tape. Your moderators and panelists have been admonished to be sure you're speaking at a microphone if you have a comment to make. We would like a volunteer at each session to handle a remote mic. If someone will volunteer, they'll be given the remote mic and they can carry it around the room to make sure people get on the microphone. A tape order form is available at the convention registration. Tapes may be ordered any time during the convention and they will be ready for you to take home with you. Your convention packet also contained a critique sheet. It's very important input to convention planning. You may also use it to sign up for committees. Any member who has been calling more than 3 years may now serve on committees and vote on committee business. Some committees have prerequisites, however. The people at the registration desk can explain the prerequisites to you. There are some schedule changes that didn't get into the second issue of the mini-sched. Please note that the Women in Calling Committee meeting has been rescheduled to the Mustang Room at 10:45 this morning. Your mini-schedule is correct. The multi-page convention issue of direction contains some errors, so please use the mini-schedule instead. The PPC, Program Policy Committee meeting, shows on your mini-sched for 3:30 this afternoon. It has been moved or rescheduled to 5 p.m. this afternoon in the Mustang Room, again because of schedule conflicts. Those are the only 2 changes for today. I'll have some more for you tomorrow, probably. You've noticed the drapes at the back here. There used to be an air wall there. They had a very exuberant group in here not long ago. Decided they needed more dance space or more space, so they decided to open the air wall themselves. As a result, they tore it down. So our dividing line between here and the social the social hour this afternoon is now a draped panel there. Please, when you come to the social hour at 6 o'clock this afternoon, stay on the other side of that panel until you're invited to come in, because we don't want to get in the way of the work staff, the wait staff, setting up for our banquet tonight. Let's see. I know I've got more than that. All right. There have been no additional birds of a feather sessions, so the only ones that we have scheduled are those that are on your mini-skid. Luncheon today will be your first of 6 meals included in the convention package. Your badge is your meal ticket. And the immortal words of John Kaltenthaler, no badge, no food, no exceptions. Though some of you that ordered diet meals have been given tickets, diet tickets or special plate tickets with the date. Yeah. You didn't receive yours? That's fairly obvious, isn't it? He ordered a double? So did Tony, but Tony's awake this morning. All right. When you seat yourself at a breakfast or a luncheon and you have a special diet, please lay the ticket out on the table in front of you. The wait staff will take that ticket to the back and match it up with a plate back there that's for you and bring you your diet meal. Last year we had a little bit of problem. Many people that ordered a diet meal liked what was on the menu better. So they kept the diet ticket in their pocket. As a result, there were several people that had to eat the diet meal because it was all that was left over. Obviously, Larry didn't get one. You and Tom, right? When you come into the hall tonight, if you're going to reserve seats for your friends so they can catch up with you, please don't tip up the chairs on the table to the table. Turn the chair around. The chairs, when they're tipped up, get in the way of the wait staff and they tear their legs up and everything else. So if you'll just turn the chair around, it'll still save the place, but it will be much safer for the people hurrying into the ballroom. Coffee break locations are in the hallway out here. The next session begins promptly at 10:45. I hope you enjoy your convention. Thank you very much.